What are the big challenges that you're seeing?
Where as a challenge, I went to England with just like 40,000 rupees. More of a mission for me to onboard at least next billion people into DeFi.
So far, how much of grants?
Around 6 billion in market cap, but when it comes to their TVL, it's less than 40 million. We are also launching our own exchange.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Hash It Out by Foundership. My name is Bimlesh Gundurao, co-founder and your host today. And super excited to have an awesome guest from the Web3 ecosystem and one of our portfolio companies at Foundership. Foundership is a Web3 accelerator VC based out of Singapore, India, and Dubai. And we work with global startups in accelerating their token journey, the startup journey, and the way they can create an impact in this world of decentralization and bringing more power to us as users in managing our own finances a lot more better. We do this with our coaching capital community framework, and we have impacted over 45 plus startups around the world. And if you are an early stage startup or a startup looking for a token launch, do check out our website at foundershiphq.com. So without further delay, I would love to welcome Shivam from ZK Cross. Welcome, Shivam. It's great to have you today.
Thank you, Bimlesh. I'm really excited to be a part of this and really looking forward to a conversation. And it's really exciting. I mean, I think the entire market has picked up, and we're done with halving, corrections, and all of that. And there's a lot happening. So yeah, really looking forward to the entire conversation.
Fantastic. So today we're also going to talk a few things that have happened or happening around the Web3 ecosystem as well. But first, let's why don't you tell us about a little brief about your journey into Web3. I know we met a couple of months ago in Dubai, and I was very fascinated with your very early stint of entrepreneurship journeys that you've had, of various initiatives that you took on. So why don't you share a glimpse of it with our listeners, and let's get going from there.
Yep, absolutely. So starting, I would let me start with my university. So I've done 2 degrees in engineering. Not a master's, so I've done actually mechanical engineering, I've done automotive engineering from England. I was working for a racing company for almost 5 years. That was a dream when I was growing up. I always wanted to be associated with racing, automotive. So I think my entrepreneurial journey started back in 2008, where as a challenge, I went to England with just 40,000 rupees, roughly around 400 pounds. And the challenge was to kind of grow with that. But when I reached there, 400 pounds was just a week's, I would say, expenditure costs. So that kind of gave me the real reality of how the money is managed. That was the first ever time I came face to face with that. My first job was a cleaner in a church. From there, pretty much went on to do all the different odd jobs you can imagine. I've sold tickets of different, I would say, events, organized 5,000, 10,000 people parties. Then sold SIM cards at an airport at 4 a.m., 5 a.m. in the morning. I was a pro seller on eBay and Amazon, selling books, selling different gifts, pretty much. So my first ever company was Money for Books, where I was trying to sell books, which all my friends kind of left with me at around 400, 500 books, just randomly posted on Amazon. And I think that was the first time I earned around, I think, 2,500, 3,000 pounds in a weekend. And I think that not addiction, but then that fulfillment of kind of doing something where I can earn a bit more than what I was earning at that time. I think my journey kind of started from there. A lot of my friends who have known me over the years, they always say, told me that you are an entrepreneur, you should start something yourself. But I always had this mind that I would want to work for an MNC or an international company, and I want to go there. But then from there, I had my first ever full-time job, I think in 2009-10, where I was working for a company who were making wheelchair accessible vehicles. So if you have any kind of disability, we would create an entire vehicle around you. For example, if you don't have one of your limbs and you can't walk, then the user can come up in their automatic wheelchairs, push a button, ramp opens up, you can go into the car, one more button, and the entire wheelchair gets clammed up, and then you can drive from literally a joystick. So that was a passion I did for almost a year. But then I realized that if I want to grow and like, I really wanted to do something myself. And then pretty much launched four companies, had a soft exit in one of them in 2016. I mean, I've known Bitcoin being in England. I've known Bitcoin since almost, I think, 2012-ish or something, but never really got the chance to completely enter. And like in 2016, it happened where I had the funds, so bought some miners. I was mining Ethereum and Coin at that time. From there, pretty much started trading because I was getting something at the end of the month, and I was like, okay, let's trade. I was trading forex back in the day, so I had a bit of knowledge, but not really in depth. But then when started trading, the entire market was like pretty much 24/7, unlike stocks and forex and all of them. And then that kind of really pushed me. And then I went to all the different technicalities you can imagine. In 3 months, I was just inside a room, and then came out with the really good strategy, which was making, I would think, like a point came in the end of 2016, where I was making in a month that I was making in a year. And that was a major shift that happened. And I think I've left pretty much everything Web2. And from there, ventured into crypto pretty much full time. Then obviously, I was getting stuff here and there. Then my friends and family kind of noticed, and then they wanted to get involved. Then I was sort like, as with my experience, I never really wanted to trade their money and funds. But I thought, okay, let me create a way for them to control their own assets and like portfolios. So hence, with a friend of mine at that time, I created like a Telegram bot where users can come and start a process which is fully automated, and you attach your API from like Binance and Bittrex. You have small case like nowadays in India. So like similarly, I launched like Points List at that time, which was predefined portfolio with like several risk profiles. So users had all the information they need. With one click, we used to trade on the exchange account 24/7. And then one of my friends kind of suggested, why don't you start posting buy and sell signals on a channel on like Telegram? I was like, yeah, I mean, there's no harm. So I just attached the same bot on the channel, started posting. And then just with referral and everything, and all of a sudden within 3 months, more than $45 million. And I think that was the most money I ever made. And that kind of showed me the power of crypto, but it also gave me a very clear overview of the problems that users face. Because of my friends and family, I used to help them on board, and now they were managing their own portfolio with a very simple interface. So I think that was a mission it started, but it got really like solidified, I would say, in 2020 when DeFi was launched. So I kind of like kept on running that automated trading solution on Telegram. I think I had a total volume of more than 145 million in 3 months, that bear market as well. And then from there, like ventured into solving the problem of DeFi, because I was like one of the early adopters of all the different like DeFi protocols. And I realized that onboarding to crypto was hard, but onboarding to DeFi is impossible. For an end user, it's really no way that they can learn something within a week. It takes a lot of energy, efforts, learning, and there was no
Yeah.
unified way of onboarding into DeFi. And I think from there, our journey started where I wanted to launch the same like portfolio management into DeFi, where users can come in on any blockchain with one approval. You want to go and buy different tokens on different blockchains. But then, kind of following that journey, I realized that if I really want to solve this problem at a bigger level, then it has to go beyond just users. We need to solve the problem at the core. So we started integrating like different dApps. So like one of the first clients we had was Splinterlands. They were like one of the biggest games at that time, where I was an early investor to them, advisor to them. Then it came up that they were struggling to onboard liquidity and users from different blockchains. So hence created the first ever product, mass product, which was one-click cross-chain onboarding. And that was, I think, the start of my like journey in like simplifying DeFi. Then eventually last year, we interacted with different blockchains, and I think we spoke to more than 20 plus blockchains, and we kind of figured out a lot of different DeFi gaps that exist even today, where 85% of all the DeFi TVL is just with 6 blockchains. I mean, I think there are more than 1,000 blockchains in the ecosystem. And we realized that there are a lot of blockchains being launched, a lot of dApps being launched, a lot of protocols being launched. But eventually, I mean, almost more than 90% of all these protocols and dApps, they die out eventually because of lack in liquidity, lack in multi-chain ecosystem, lack in users. And that kind of started a journey with like where we are today with Cross Network, where we are at the forefront of DeFi chain abstraction infrastructure as a like provider to blockchains. So like simplifying how liquidity and user engagement are managed across multiple blockchains. So basically our like technology provides a seamless native cross-chain capabilities. So it enables like effortless moment of like different asset transfers, liquidity across different blockchains with one click. So over here, I want to take an example. For example, like Mastercard and Visa, they solved the problem of movement of fiat back in 80s and 90s, which I'm sure like we have seen that now you as a user can go into any shop, tap in your card, money comes out from that POS, goes to the seller account, merchant account, and the entire process is fully abstracted from the user view, and there is a huge trust of security that even if the funds don't go through, they will come back within few days. So that's the kind of, I would say, trust, simplicity that we're bringing, or we have already bought into DeFi, where we kind of take care of the entire infrastructure, and the go-to-market strategy that we have come up with is very different than many other DeFi chain abstraction like companies that exist today. Whereas we are working very closely with, like I would say, emerging blockchains and already established blockchains to solve the problem of DeFi on that blockchain. So we work very closely with them, where we do the research, development, deployment, and we fill in all the DeFi infrastructure gaps. So like let me take an example of ICP. So they have around 6 billion in market cap, but when it comes to their TVL, it's less than 40 million. So the major reason in that case is obviously simplifying the user journey.
Right.
So we have addressed this issue at blockchain level, so that once we solve that blockchain level problem, and I mean, just as a overview of like a user flow, I would say users come through account abstraction, for example, logging to their Gmail, Twitter, and all of that. And we take care of the entire like wallets and addresses and all of that, so that users, they don't have to worry about securing their keys, blockchain to integrate their MPC, which is like multi-party computation, into our infrastructure. So all the different the wallet keys and our own like keys, they're completely secured by MPC, so that there is no like failure at one point. I mean, I have actually come across a lot of different cross-chain solutions, studied for the last, like I would say, 2 years. But we figured out like all these cross-chain solutions, they term themselves are decentralized, but not entirely. Like there is always an element of bridge watches or something that is being done on a centralized exchange server. Whereas when we are in DeFi, I mean, obviously DeFi stands for decentralized finance. So why are we not completely on-chain, decentralized, completely like transparent? Because obviously there's a lack of infrastructure, and that's where we exactly step in. So we're solving the problem so that once the entire journey happens, user comes into account abstraction, they bring liquidity, for example, fiat or any other blockchain with just one click. And what we've done is we're launching ZK Plus exchanges on all of these blockchains with their own unique URLs. So we're not like Uniswap, where you have one interface and all the chains attached to it, whereas we are deploying these like exchanges for each blockchain, so that all the use cases of that blockchain can be on that exchange itself. So now imagine, like after speaking with a lot of different fiat on-ramps, we realize that they have a huge success when onboarding a user from Web2 to Web3, like the token or like the coin that they want to buy in. But once they have their funds in the Web3 wallet, they have no idea what to do, because
Right.
the learning curve from there is huge. Like you need to learn about gas, slippage, swap, bridge, and then different like terminologies comes in, like pancake swap, sushi swap, poo coin. So when you actually speak about these to somebody who is in Web2, who's like earned his money like really hard with like different blood and sweat, and you ask them to invest or swap through or buy tokens on pancake swap, they look around to me and say like, are you for real, like kind of a thing. So that bringing that trust as well into the ecosystem, that users, they come in, they onboard, and then all the different use cases are built on the same exchange. So we don't compete against any of the different protocols or dexes that exist on a blockchain. But what we do is, if there is like, for example, party share blockchain, we're building the entire like DeFi infra for them. So the DEXs didn't exist. So we went ahead and we have already launched like fully fledged AMM DEX on them as well. It's in like testnet in the works. So we aim to make it live within a month. So taking each blockchain and solving that core problems. And I think generally a question is asked to me that you have taken such a huge, I would say, undertaking. Like, how are you planning to solve this in 40 plus blockchains? Because that's our like roadmap for the next year or so. So what we have done is we have kind of created innovation at that level as well, where all our different modules are built in a way that could be integrated into any blockchain. Like the entire architecture stays the same. The language generally changes. The tech stack like generally changes. So, for example, if you're built on Rust, so now all the blockchains that are available on Rust we can launch within a week.
Okay.
So, like the first partition took us almost 3 months, but if you want to launch a similar exchange, it will take us a week or max 2 weeks. Like for example, EVM, we're like on the verge of launching Arbitrum, like exchange as well. So over there, it took us almost a month and a half. But now, once Arbitrum goes live, we can launch EVMs like week after week after week. So the expansion rate for us is really high, and I think solving the problem at blockchain level, where we are not a blockchain, we are not a wallet. Whereas what we're doing is we are connecting the infrastructure that exists today. Because like one of the problems that I've seen, that all of these companies, they're actually coming up with like cross-chain L1s, and then like cross-chain different protocols exist, Li-Fi, socket, swing, router, and all of them. What they do is either you as a user have to go through a major learning curve, and there is no one-click solution. And if that one-click solution exists, it's generally at a wallet level. So if there is a DeFi abstraction wallet that is onboarding users, you can do all that portfolio management and everything in that app itself. But if you want to go and use another dApp, you can't do so. Whereas what we're doing is we're connecting the infrastructure that exists today without complicating it further. So if you are a user, you have an option to obviously follow that abstraction and create your own wallet. But if you don't, if you have your own wallet, you can integrate and we do account abstraction on that wallet itself without you ever being involved, without you ever like worrying about gas and slippage and all the different like which swap to go, which to trust, what to trust. And there are hacks happening pretty much every day. So I think, yeah, that gives you an overview of where mission, because more than a company is more of a mission for me to onboard at least next billion people into DeFi, because I think we're solving a lot of problems in DeFi, but I don't think everybody is aware, because I think as soon as you mention about Web3 and DeFi, two different individuals, there is I would say, a place where they don't really understand what DeFi and Web3 means. It's generally for techies. You don't have to kind of get involved. And the only thing they kind of hear is this hack happening today, that happened yesterday. And so there's a lot of like skepticism around the entire DeFi ecosystem. And I think that's the mission to solve like for us in the next like 3 to 4 years.
Amazing. Yeah, this is indeed a large problem statement, given that there are so many L1s that have come through, and yet there is no single easy system that can enable a user to move assets across chains and leverage the liquidity that exists across chains. So if I were to understand right, because you used references a lot about users, so your network is going to enable users, individual users like someone like me or any other person who's got a bunch of VDAs to come onto your platform and then leverage the liquidity. Does not need to bother about on which chain this particular asset is being underlying holding, but can trade, can manage, can sell across chains and ensure that the transaction goes through, and basically obfuscating that entire liquidity challenge to ensure that my transaction goes through smoothly, right? From an end user point of view, that's the core problem that you're solving.
Absolutely. And let me elaborate and basically quantify our kind of mission and roadmap over here as well. So in phase 1, what we're doing is solving this at a blockchain level, as I mentioned. But our phase 2, where basically blockchain level is B2B2C. So we are working with blockchains and they're actually funding us. We go through the grant infrastructure with actually some of them. Then aim is to launch 40 plus blockchains, like the top 40 ones, where you have all the EVMs leading those, and then all the non-EVMs, which are really great in the market. For example, Stellar, ICP, we're already working with them, but they don't have a DeFi established infrastructure. So solving that as a phase 1 in the next, I would say, year and a half. Then once we are ready with this, we are also launching our own exchange, like ZK Cross Exchange, where what we're doing is all of these use cases that you have, on different blockchains. Trading, yes, is actually one of them. And as you like mentioned about liquidity, what we also solve is, for example, if there is a pair available on 5 blockchains and you want to come up with, I don't know, $5 million of those tokens, and you want to exit at that time, you don't have enough liquidity on one blockchain available. So as a user, you'd go on a centralized exchange account, try to do that, but then you come on different indexes and there's not liquidity. So we create those routes and we find those routes so that as a user, you don't have to venture into different platforms. So solving that problem of like liquidity depth in DeFi, obviously 100%, that's the first goal. Second is, for example, you are based on like ICP and you want to go and like play a game, or you want to like launch a token, or you want to, for example, stake your tokens or lend some tokens, or whatever the different use cases that are available. We want to bring to that same interface that you're building for ICP as an exchange. So
Right.
then the user journey completes. Problem over here in DeFi is the user journey is very like abstracted,
Fragmented.
fragmented
Yeah.
in a way. Yes, they don't really understand what needs to be done as a user. And even as somebody like us who has been in the ecosystem for almost 3 to 4 years, it gets hard. I mean, one of the like other examples I want to take is if you want to buy runes on Bitcoin. I mean, that's what I did a few weeks ago as well. That's again a major learning curve. Like as a native DeFi user, I had to go and see and learn and how to do that. So something which is coming in the future as well, and we are solving with a lot of leading names in the blockchain, obviously Bitcoin ecosystem. I don't want to name them today, but I mean, we're like solving in a way so that if you have funds on Ethereum, for example, Ether on Ethereum, and you need to buy runes on Bitcoin, you can do that with one click. See, that changes the entire, I would say, equation for the market, because I mean the entire liquidity is based on Bitcoin really. So I mean, if you can solve cross-chain on Bitcoin, then that would be the real use case, the real like flow of liquidity. I mean, yes, EVMs we are doing a lot, but
Yeah.
then more than 50% is on Bitcoin, and I think that's sitting there. That's the end goal for us to solve that Bitcoin problem as well. And we're doing it natively, not like a wrap token and all of that, which a lot of companies have done it. We don't believe in wrap tokens in a very native way, so that all the different OGs who are there like also support us and build with us as well.
Amazing. No, a couple of things came out here, right? So one, you know, obviously you're going to expand the support to almost every blockchain that exists, but you're starting out with the top 40. In that, the primary focus will be to get started with the EVM compatible chains. Now, as you go beyond EVM, what are the big challenges that you're seeing as as a platform that's going to enable cross liquidity between an EVM chain and a non-EVM chain from an integration standpoint?
See, EVM, I would say there are a bunch, like 10 to 12 that I can name, that they've already solved the moment of liquidity into their ecosystem, and
Mhm.
hence they are into top 10. But once we talk about other EVM chains, then they're struggling with that because they're trying to find the right use case. They went ahead, if they're L1s and L2s, they went ahead and they raise a lot of funds and they have like a really good community. But when it comes to use case, they don't have a DeFi infrastructure. So we're building with few at the moment, where we're solving that initial problems of like DeFi in that ecosystem. And then aim is to connect them with leading EVMs as well, because obviously liquidity has to flow from them. All the DeFi users, even you and me being in DeFi, I'm like, even my majority of the funds are in EVMs. I mean, they hardly, we would keep in non-EVMs, like Solana
Yeah.
being one, yes. But then other than that, is very rare in that case. If we talk about non-EVMs, then kind of problem statement becomes a lot bigger. Like one of the chains like we are actually working with at the moment, and we're building their decks from ground up. Now, by building the first ever DeFi protocol or decks on their ecosystem, now we have to solve problem of them back like blockchain level as well, because nobody has ever built it before. So there's a lot of different communication and back and forth that you have to do with their own devs, and they are solving those blockchain level problems as well. So launching a non EVM takes almost 3 to 4 months, like almost twice as long, thrice as long as compared to EVM blockchain. Because I think with EVM's base exists today, but the problem is a platform that provides the value layer of that blockchain. That's the major problem with EVMs at the moment. Because users, if you want to attract masses, then they would have to come with the end use case. I mean, as you mentioned about like RWA as well. Like we're working with e-money, which is also in the same ecosystem. So we're working with them in order to. So our infrastructure is a very good use case for actually RWA as well, because RWA is all the users are coming from Web2. I mean,
Yeah.
that's would be the major moment of liquidity from Web2 to Web3 as I see it. But as soon as we bring those real use cases, in be it property, be it stocks, be it anything, I mean, art or anything like that, I think that's where the value of moment comes in. But I think we need to be ready for that in terms of infrastructure so that those users can flow in and they don't really held back with different problems when it comes to learning the technology, understanding the technology. So, I mean, we want to go at that stage where, I mean, I've seen my mom, she doesn't even know see a computer back in the days, but now she has a social media account on all the different social media channels. Like my sister actually got married and we did all the shopping on Amazon because of lockdown, like at that time. But now imagine, I never imagined my mom to be that heavy on social media and e-commerce. But is there an infrastructure for her to onboard DeFi today if she wants to come with the end use case? The answer is no. And I think that's exactly what we're trying to solve over here.
Well, one more interesting point came out is, you also mentioned they're working with a lot of these chains by leveraging the grants ecosystem that they already have, because you're especially with some chains, like you mentioned, you had to build out first the DeFi infrastructure before you could bring in your infrastructure into that chain. So someone who is, so if I were to ask you, you can obviously give me a range on this. So far, how much of grants have you raised across chains to help build this infrastructure?
So we've got grants from like 5 blockchains, around 620,000 like dollars up till now. And I think
Nice.
the being coming from Web2 and launching businesses and being like a serial entrepreneur, I think my first objective was like sustainability of the company. So once we get a grant, then we go and build out. So we took this problem in a very different way. So we don't have to struggle about funding. We don't have to go and kind of, because I've seen a lot of startups. I mean, I've
Yeah.
been advising many over the years. I think this is one of the very big problems because I think this startup culture that exists today is very misleading. Like everybody sees it as very lucrative. Like you just do a startup and money is going to flow, users going to flow.
Right.
I mean, that's the, I would say, being an entrepreneur is, I think, the hardest thing I've
That's
ever
also the
actually done in my
fallacy.
life. Yeah,
That's also the
exactly.
fallacy. Yeah.
Yeah, the glam statement that comes in. But yeah, I mean, to be honest, if like somebody wants to build in DeFi, the best way to go about in raising funds is obviously through grants. I mean, there are almost every blockchain has a grant ecosystem. The entire, I would say, I mean, challenge. And obviously, getting the first one would be the hardest. But as soon as you crack the first one, then you exactly know what needs to be done. And I think same with all the different blockchains. But my 2 cents on this is that if you are a founder and if you want to get that grant, first go and see the focus of that blockchain. Like where are they focused? Once that focus is defined, then try to match your product with that focus. And once that's done, then all of these different blockchains have their own, like I would say, forums, like communities, where go and take part, get involved, like find out what different grants are being approved, how the structure is there, like what kind of structure actually goes for, and everything is available to the public. Anyone can go and always enter with the lowest possible grant. I mean, for example, the ICP, we entered the foot in the door with like the lowest possible 5,000 grant. And as soon as you go and prove yourself with the lowest grant, which is a lot easier to get as well. I know for a founder, it seems like $5,000 for a
Yeah.
month's work, and it's really less, blah, blah. But you need to see the bigger picture. And I think you need to be very patient because with these blockchains, it can take weeks or even months, actually. I mean, with few of them, we have taken more than 6 months to close. But once they see value in the team, because one of the other problems which we figured out while speaking with like 20 plus blockchains is all of these grant infrastructure that exists. Usually, few devs come together and they build a product and they launch. And it's not in the incentive or it's not in the interest to be a part of that product or project in the longer run on that blockchain. And this is where blockchains also want like founders like us who can come and be a part of their ecosystem in the longer run and see a bigger picture as well. Generally, in all the different like grant applications, you would see a question like, what is your long-term vision on that project or on that blockchain. I think that's where a lot of blockchains are actually concentrating, because anybody can hire devs, right? I mean, these blockchains are like multi-billion dollar ecosystem. Like, for example, ICP as well. If they want to build out a team, they can go and build several teams. But you as a founder, if you're building your niche, you need to go and kind of be a part and have a foot in the door, and then just be a part of the journey. And if you do that day in, day out, it's very easy to raise your like first 100,000, half a million, $1 million within a year. It's not really hard. But you need to be open to learning. Don't look at the grant amounts. Even anything is being offered, even marketing is being offered, that's more than enough. Being supported by any L1 or L2s, and you're a startup, that would bring that trust to your product, that would bring that like basic community to your product. And plus funds usually follow.
Amazing. Fantastic. I think this is pretty much similar in line with what we at Foundership have also been talking to and guiding a lot of these founders to say that, hey, don't fill in. So there are two things. Two things. One is to explore grants depending on the stage that you are in and how good problem that you're solving. Second is, what is the value add that you do on top of that chain, right? What is it that is so compelling for the chain to offer you the grant, especially the top-up grant in future? And many of the founders that we realize have not even have a challenge in putting that effort in filling out the grant application form in a very compelling manner, right? And that's where half the battle is lost, because when you fill up the grant application in a half convinced manner, you have lost the battle right at the application form itself, right? So there's no way that your application form is going to go up the value chain into the voting committee and to get voted in versus getting naturally voted out, because there's no compulsive story there for someone to look at it and get it done.
100%.
Fantastic. Now, talk to us a little bit about how you put your team together in solving this particular large problem. I know you and most of your co-leadership team is based out of Dubai. Talk to us a little bit of how did you guys come together, and and how are you building out your startup from a team organization culture and other things from a team point of view.
Absolutely. I mean, I think I've been very lucky in that sense. So it's me who kind of started the bandwagon and the mission. Then I have Ali, who joined, I think, back in 21. Where Ali and I, we have studied in same university in England. So we met over there, and then we had a few other startups. Earlier on in my journey, all the 4 startups, we actually worked together. Then we went our own different ways. Ali comes with a lot of background into e-commerce. He launched his brand. He grew the entire company to, I think, more than $6 million in less than 2 years, with more than like 35,000 users using his products. So Ali takes care of the different commercials, marketing, pretty much the entire content strategy and all of that. And being friends since pretty much 2008, there's no problem of communication. And obviously, working with friends is harder. I mean, I'm sure you would have also seen a lot of different stories coming up that there's generally things get complicated as you grow as a team and as a co-founder as well. So with us, I think it's been very clear. Since day one, if I'm lagging something, just put me down and tell me what's the problem, and we solve it then and there. Aim is not to carry anything within plan. I mean, aim is to work for the bigger picture, the company. Friendship is one thing, being colleagues, being co-founders, another thing. Then we actually talk about Priyank. So Priyank and I have known each other since childhood. We're from the same city, same school, played basically cricket together. I've known him pretty much since I can remember. So Priyank has been working with Oyo. He's the one who launched in Southeast Asia, grew the company to almost 15,000. I would say different partners in Vietnam and the entire Southeast Asia region. He was also heading NCR and different regions in India for Oyo, and he joined at a very lower level. So he has in-depth experience into operations, partnerships and all of that. So he has a lot of value. And we have, there has obviously when you're a friend, you kind of know who you can work with and who can't. So I think Priyank and Ali, we all three kind of bonded really well. And being friends, there's no problem of trust, there's no problem of understanding. And I think these are one of the few fundamental problems generally the founding team like has cracks generally. But I think by knowing each other and knowing where the other person lacks and how to pick them up, because I think there, being an entrepreneur, there will always be days where you're really lying down, your like motivation is lying down. So you need like to have the right co-founders, right core team in place so that they can also pick you up in the days when you're down. You can pick them up. So it's something that you need to come together as a mission. I think when it's just about money, just about business, it doesn't really last. And I think that's been always the core for us because obviously Web3 and DeFi is a very emerging. We're still at a very early age. I mean, what Fiat did back in 80s and 90s, we're really
Yeah.
at that point where we're still solving that payment solution problem and all of that. So yeah, then Priyank joined me back in what 21 when we about to launch and everything. Then like Suneshwar, who is the head of technology, like really keen, really experienced when it comes to building IT technology. He grew his company like an IT software hub to like 1 million in ARR within a year with more than 100 employees. He's actually based out of India, Gurgaon, and he has been like contributing to Ethereum base code since pretty much 2014. So he's the oldest one amongst us who's like started this entire journey. And his understanding of different concepts and problem solving is just out of this world. I mean, um, I think we've known each other for almost 3 years now, and whichever problem you approach with, he just given days, nights, and just he just actually comes up with like a solution. Because I think what we are solving, it's really technical, it's really hard. I mean, I think that's the most DeFi you can ever get, like
Correct.
solving that native problem. So I think as four of us in the core team, I think we complement each other in every aspect of the business. I take care of like pretty much overseeing the entire company, the vision, and everyone else fills in all the different gaps we have. And if you talk about our extended team, we have more than like 16 employees working out of India, Gurgaon team. And then we have organized it in a way that we have an extended team. We can also tap in with other partners that we have been working with. And we generally do it like project wise, or we
Correct.
also onboard them full time. And what we did was with every blockchain, I mean, front end and kind of like UI UX stayed the same for throughout. But then everything else, backend, blockchain devs, QAs, it's more blockchain centric. So we built small teams for each blockchain because obviously we were on a bigger mission. And this approach helped us grow at this like faster scale as well. I mean, there's so much we've already launched, there's so much that is already coming. And I think organizing and plus all of us together, I think we more than bring in more than like 50 years of experience. Like product lifecycle management is something which I was doing like back in university, then in the other. So the entire experience in management, in like product lifecycle, entire journey, what it is, how it's followed. I think we bring that in-depth experience into the entire company, and that's how we've reached so far. Yeah, I mean, I think that, I mean, plus I think like going ahead of this, we've been incubated by like obviously Foundership, and there's so much that I can say. I mean, you, Pranav, Santosh, all of us have added so much value in the last year and a half. I mean, I would say nobody else in the entire journey have been this much like involved in that core level solving problems, introductions, because I think being an entrepreneur is very important to have that person or a team which we can approach, and they just give us that third person view that
Yeah.
okay, this is that and a very clear manner, like not basically like sugarcoating. And I think Pranav being in Dubai, he has been that building block for us, and he's not somebody we have to approach. It's generally him approaching us, guys, what's happening this week, what's happening that what. So he's somebody who's always there. I mean, as a mentor, as a friend, as a part of a team. I mean, we can approach him with any problem and he always has a solution. And I think that adds a lot of value because we've been into other like incubation as well over the years. I've also been advisors to many, but I think the value that you guys bring in to a startup like us, it's just amazing. It's just out of the world because there's a real value. It's not just saying that, okay, these are few groups, just go and speak with them. It's more in depth, actually solving the problem, actually being a part of like our journey in a day to day. And I think it has never been so that I've tried to approach Pranav or you guys or anyone in the team, and there's always been no, we're busy and this and that. There's always, yeah, let's like get on a call at the soonest possible. And I think that helped us reach this space as well within a very short span of time, because obviously speaking with different blockchains, there's a lot of introduction needed, there's a lot of push needed, the right messaging is needed. So a lot has to like goes in order to onboard. Even 5 blockchains are already like signed up for us, and there are more than 10 in pipelines which we're onboarding as well. So yeah, I mean, like major thank you for that. And we have a lot of different leading advisors also from the ecosystem, which brings in years and years of experience. And we're glad that there are many investors who have actually like trusted us. There's a lot of different companies who are helping us with all like different, I would say, growth strategy and like getting us in I would say the next stage of where we're launching our token, we're launching our entire ecosystem in the like coming weeks and months. And yes, like yeah, really, I mean, excited and thankful as well at the same time.
Super, fantastic. Good to hear that. I think one of the things that we are very conscious and that we drive through at Foundership is to always be founder first, right? So a lot of our decision making, a lot of our thought processes, even the type of partners we choose, and even the type of founders we choose to work with is with that mindset and with that attitude to ensure that the founder's interest is always kept at heart and at mind, in ensuring that all our programs, our processes, and our decision making is all aligned to ensure that the founders are successful, because that's how the ecosystem grows, and that's how we bring in our skin in the game as well. So great to hear. Thanks for that, unsolicited sort of a testimonial, if I were to call that, on this podcast. But great to hear. You have been a great founder in executing a lot of these stuff. You may at times agree or even agree to disagree, but the key thing is to have that open communication, right? That is really the true form of what a partnership is all about. Fantastic. So moving ahead, you briefly touched upon the investors as well being part of your journey. So talk to us a little bit about your fundraising journey so far, and what is that you have plans ahead, and what sort of timelines you're looking at for your next fundraise, and including some part of your token launch plans as well.
Absolutely. So now where we are at the stages are like there are 3 rounds. There's like the early adopters round in terms of investment, then there's private and there's public, which we're offering as well. So first round sold out by like BFF, which is Blockchain Founders Fund. We have NextGen onboarded. We have like Cointelegraph onboarded. Like Foundership Ventures is onboarded. Then we have like IBC, like Mario Nafal is onboarded. Keen Equity. So we have some really good names on our like I would say list as well in terms of investors. Then if you talk about launchpads, then we had a huge win with Paid, like coming on board. They're doing the biggest IDO in the history. We have Moonstarter, OpenPad, Synapse, BRC Starter, who are already onboarded. So actually, like our public round is also sold out. So now we're just raising, I think last million-ish is left from our like private round at the moment. We're sending SAPs as well. There's a lot of interest from like different investors in the ecosystem. Because I think what we are building is real, is centric. Everything is already live, operational. We have like basically partnership with a lot of different blockchains as well. So aim over here is as soon as the market picks up, we want to like do like a month of like road to TG campaign in terms of marketing, and then pretty much start like doing IDOs once, like one IDO every week. That's going to take roughly a month, and then from there like launching on different like sexes that we're speaking with at the moment. Then going and like launching a Liquidity on Arbitrum. And we're really honored to be like supported by one of the like tier 1 market makers. I can't name them today because we still haven't like finished the onboarding. Sure. But like we have a tier 1 market maker who's known in the market. We have a tier 1 like security audit company, Halbon, really already onboarded. And we are like speaking with Notcoin at the moment, partnerships like Cointelegraph is already onboarded, Mario Nafal is onboarded, like Master Ventures, like Kyle Chase is already onboarded. So we have some really good leading names on the market who are already onboarded. I think now the entire aim is to get like tier 1 investors interested with the last million that's like remaining in a private round. And yeah, we pretty much then will be like ready to launch, because I think we're kind of waiting for the market to pick up as well, some retail to be there. because our aim is to launch a DAO like within a year, because we want the entire operations to be run by the people, the communities. So we're building exactly what people need and not building what we feel is the right like path. So I think we want to take that company to a level that the entire DAO can be like supported like fully like by people who, and that's where we can expand at a very faster pace. All the integration can happen at like lightning speed because we as a team can do to a certain level. And I think having that retail and doing so many different ideas and all of that, the entire aim is to attract those like communities the day we launch like the token. And I think we want to take that path. And one of the things we're also doing a bit differently than other, I would say, projects is we're raising half and half. So the half of the tokens are being raised for the public and half private. And I think it's not many people take that approach. But then what we like kind of realize, if you want to incentivize people, community, masses, I think that'll be the right approach so that we can cater to as many people as possible and launch a product that's meaningful for them to even use. Yeah, I think that gives you like an overall of where exactly we are with the token launch.
Oh, fantastic. So, how has been your experience in terms of managing the change of fundraise between talking to token only based investors versus trying to raise money from, in the past from equity investors? Well, what do you see as a big difference that you would suggest to watch out for a founder who's just getting started either in of these fundraise journeys?
See, I mean, I think one of the like similarity between Web2 and Web3 investors is the like ongoing narrative. And I think ongoing narrative is something which all the VCs and funds generally follow. But with Web3, things are a lot faster. Things move a lot quicker as compared to Web2. Because Web2, I mean, generally speaking, with my experience, it takes 3 to 4 months to close an investor in Web2. But in Web3, it could be a lot faster depending on what niche are you targeting, what basically like narrative you have, what traction, all of that obviously comes into play. But there is a different mentality change when it comes to an equity like investor and a token investor, because equity investor is looking for a long-term partnership with you as a company, as a founder, and they more get it on to like what team is being built, which forms the basis of their like investment, then what product is being built and the traction and everything else kind of generally follows. Whereas with Web3, it's a like a short-term investment goal for the end investor. Because at the end of the day, like bull run is picking up, we anticipate for the market to pick up in a month, maximum 2 months. So over here, we will see a lot of different funds coming up, which are not there today. But then aim would be for them to come in, sign a SAFT, get those tokens within that bull run, and then exit as well in that same bull run. I mean, there are very few investors that we like have come across that stay for the longer journey. Over here, it's more about the numbers game. Generally, what I perceive is invest in X, exit in X, and maybe 5 to 10% of them creates a mark and you get 5 to 10x of your funds in a very short span of time. So I think there's a very major mentality shift as well. And that's the reason that I mentioned we want to target tier ones.
Yep.
Because I think there's still an element over there that they want to be with you for the longer run. Whereas I think small ticket investors and like more angels are there everywhere. I mean, I don't think it's that hard to raise money in Web3 if you have the right product, right team, and right like narrative. But I think raising as compared to Web2 to Web3 is a lot easier. But obviously, that warm introduction is 100% needed in Web3 because obviously there's so many projects, there's so much like cluster. I mean, as I'm sure you would know that you must be going through at least like 100 to 200 decks a month minimum.
Yeah.
And so that's the kind of innovation that I've seen grow up from 2016, 17, when even talking about crypto was a taboo and people used to think it's a scam. Like
Yeah.
Bitcoin is a scam to coming here where everybody wants to build on like Web3 and like crypto as a whole. So I think that's my kind of experience so far with Web3.
Fantastic. I think this has been an amazing conversation and getting insights on what you're building, what your journey is. Last couple of questions. One memorable moment in this last 18 months of coming through the bull, the bear market, entering the early stages of bull market, and where you are. What has been your key perspective or learning from this journey over the last 18 months?
I mean, this was, I think my third beer run. So I was kind of prepared because, I mean, as a like Web3 founder, bear is where you build. And I think solving those problems that we're doing in a completely decentralized way, I think those were the major wins when the first transaction of cross-chain one click went through. And I think the next bigger win was like Partition coming on board, where we were doing the entire DeFi for them, being the first ever blockchain we onboarded. Then getting interest from ICP and then Stellar and then all the different blockchains we're speaking with. Because I think closing the first one is generally the hardest. Doing your first sale is the hardest. Because I think that's where the major learning is. That's where the right narrative is. And I think one of the biggest wins last year was getting Partition onboarded because we also didn't really have a huge history in the background because we were only live on few dApps. But in those dApps, we had really good volumes at that time. So our infrastructure was tested back in back, majorly on mainnet. So I think that's the bigger, and I would always like suggest to all the founders who are in Web3, bear run is for you to build, bull run is for you to like literally get some funds in so that you can build. And that's the entire like mentality I've been living through all of these like bull runs and bear runs. Because if you have enough to sustain in the bear run, I mean, just as an example, as a founder, what I've seen in 21, a lot of different companies came in, they raised a lot of money. Obviously, when million comes in, the first million comes in as a founder, I think you go out and do a lot that you have not done in your life, but then that money runs out eventually if you're not really careful of where you're spending and if that's not expanding or if you're not investing in the right places. That that is where I've seen a lot of founders struggle because I think the glam, as we just spoke about, as a founder, you want to earn your first million. And generally, I've seen majority to that first one because I mean, it may come across kind of weird to a lot of listeners, but I think that's where I've seen a lot of people failing because once you get your first million, it's very important at that time to manage your money properly.
Correct.
If you're able to go through that first million and then with that you get revenues and you make your company sustainable, I think that should be the first focus, like generally as a founder. And if you're done through that, bear is the best time to build something which is meaningful for the upcoming like narrative, is solve the real problem, do all the integrations in the bear run. And once you have your product tested live on mainnet, you should be ready with the like bull run straight away. I mean, I always say to all the like different founders I meet that 1 year before halving is where you should leave everything and just work. I mean, I've been working 16, 18 hours pretty much. I think it's been a year and a half, like continuously back to back. Because that's where you have the opportunity. Like as soon as market picks up, like where we are today, if, like Bitcoin costs is 80,000, that's where all the KOLs and investors will like have that FOMO. 100 like thousand crosses, that will be where all the different PR agencies and media agencies going to pick up. That's when the retail is going to come in. So there's still a few months remaining. I mean, try to kind of have everything together. If you're not able to raise funds, that'll be the right time to go to the market because a lot of people will eventually exit with all the different tokens that they've invested today.
Yep.
They're waiting for them to be listed. There'll be a lot of funds flowing through Web3, and it'll be the right time to go and raise and kind of come through the bull run where you have enough funds to build your right product and like the go-to-market fit actually.
Fantastic, Shiva. Fantastic. I think this is a great closure to this conversation today. Thank you so much for joining in. So if followers would want to reach out to you, why don't you share the best way for them to reach out to you?
The best way for me, like I'm like very active on Twitter, LinkedIn. Like they can just search me like Shivam Tandon. They should be able to find me. And the best, or you can also approach me through like my email address, shivam@zkcross.network. I mean, I'm always happy to help any founder, any business, any help. Like my 2 cents, views, any partnerships, we're always open to integrations. So if you're there as anyone in the ecosystem, we would love to speak with you. And yeah, I mean, let's build DeFi and make it seamless and simple as we speak.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Shivam, for joining in. And thank you, listeners, for joining in as well. This is Bimlesh Gundurao signing off on another episode at Hash It Out. Talk to you soon with another amazing guest in the next coming episode. Until then, don't forget to like and subscribe to our podcasts on YouTube and follow us on Twitter and on LinkedIn as well. Thank you so much, and see you all soon. Bye bye.
Thank you.